Okay, so today we're actually going over a very important part of essay writing, which is about argument, okay? So last week we actually, the week before, it was 3 weeks ago, because we had a Chuseok holiday and, absent week, so the 3 weeks before we covered discussion essay, which is very important, but argument essay is as important as discussion essay. So we're actually going over how to write this argument essay today. So let's read. Joy, could you read?
Professor Mike.
Oh.
Mike.
Is it working? You guys have to sit here. Yeah.
Hello.
You guys have to. Can you sit here?
Understand the argument. In contrast to discussion essays, an argument places greater emphasis on the writer making a clear case. An argument is built up point by point, and each point is supported with examples, research evidence, or logical reasoning. For example, to argue in favor of teaching language at primary school, a writer could begin. There are clear benefits to early language teaching. Firstly, young children are less inhibited about using new vocabulary. Furthermore, 6-year-old children have better memories than older pupils. Numerous study example T. Wolf
At all?
et al. 2017 have demonstrated the advantage of this approach. This approach shows how arguments are straightened by evidence and research support.
Right, so one of the very clear distinction between discussion essay and argument essay is that argument essay you have to have an opinion on the given topic, right? So discussion essay you can just make an explanation about the topic without a strong opinion, but argument essay you basically have to have a strong say on the given topic. And for that purpose, you basically have to be able to build your evidence on why you think so, right? So that's why you need a lot of support and evidence from other sources. And this class will actually learn how to utilize other sources to back up and support your argument, basically a point of opinion. All right, next. So what are the counter arguments?
What are counter-arguments? In most academic writing, there are contrary views that differ from your own perspective, and these are called counter-arguments. It is important to show that you are aware of these opposing viewpoints in order to demonstrate balance and critical awareness. A counter-argument example about language teaching could be traditional language teaching has begun around the age of 11 on the basis that older children can better understand the grammatical concept involved. In addition, these children may have had experience of foreign travel and so be better motivated to learn another language. By acknowledging counter-argument, the writer shows they are considering all sides of the debate.
Right, so what counter-arguments basically means is opposite of the opinion that you hold about a given topic. Right? So suppose we're talking about the issue of abortion, and you actually oppose the abortion rights for women. But then counter-argument basically means there are people who actually support abortion for the woman's right. So just to show that you have a very balanced point of view on a given topic, and you've actually considered and studied about various perspectives and various evidence and various supporting details, and then you can conclude that among the various sort of viewpoints that I've considered, this is the best, and that's why I propose this opinion, right? So this is a very nice way to show and summarize your argument, and for that purpose, you basically have to explain in detail what the counter arguments are, in order to show that you actually have considered the opposing views, and as a result of you actually found some pitfalls or weaknesses in the counter arguments, and that's why your argument is actually better than the counter arguments. So for that purpose, you have to actually present nicely what your counter arguments are. Alright, so how to handle counter arguments. Alright. Joy, you can just keep on reading.
How to handle counter arguments. In academic writing, it is usual to present counter arguments before giving your own view. The structure makes your position stronger because you first show an awareness of opposing perspective and then explain why your position is more convincing. When presenting your own argument, you should give clear reasons supported by evidence, example and citation from credible research. Addressing counter-arguments fairly and defending your position builds credibility and demonstrates strong critical thinking. Ultimately, this approach ensures that your writing is persuasive, balanced, and academically sound.
Right, so as I told you, presenting the counter arguments well is to show that your argument is actually better than the other point of view, right? So that's the whole purpose, right? So because of this, it's usually the case that you present the counter arguments at the beginning of your essay, right? So when you actually start your essay, you actually explain what all the counter arguments are. And then you basically provide evidence. Maybe you can just cite the other sources. You can cite the statistics, or you can actually borrow some ideas from other scholars, or by doing this, you can basically say why the counter arguments don't really work. And that sort of leads you to establish your argument in a very logical and sort of reasonable way. So that's the whole purpose of having a counter argument. So that's why you basically start the counter argument first, and then you basically tell them why the counter argument doesn't really work because of all these different reasons. And for these reasons, your argument actually makes more sense than the counter arguments. So this is the logical sort of procedure. Okay, does it make sense? All right, so it's better to actually do some exercise than just hearing my explanation. So let's do some exercise together. So let's go to page 46 on unit 104. Yeah, page 46. Yeah, and it says practice B, right? It says underline the counter argument in the following example on the topic of prisons from 7 above. What is the writer's position? So you have a paragraph, right? And then you basically find out what the counter argument is and the author's opinion is. 47. What is the counter argument here? Anybody?
More commonly, prisoners at University of Crimes. The counter.
Where is it?
The third line.
All right. Okay. Okay. So more commonly, prisons act as universities of crime, which serve to reinforce. Very good. So it's basically, and then the author's argument is.
The majority of prisoners are not dangerous and could be dealt with more effectively by the means.
Very good. Yeah. So actually, is the author pro or con to? Is the author for or against prisoner?
For the prisoners.
Really?
Yeah, because the majority of prisoners are not dangerous.
Oh, sorry, prisoners. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Prison. It's against prison, right? So it's basically the author is arguing that we have to find better ways to treat the prisoners than just making them prisoners, right? Yeah. Very good. Okay, let's do the second one. So study the example below and write 2 more sentences using ideas on the topic of home working from the title 8 above. So it's basically presenting 2 different opinions on home working, right? So the counter argument basically says some people believe that home workers become isolated, right? So you basically give 2 more sentences backing up the counter argument, and your position is, but this can be avoided by holding weekly meetings for all departmental staff, and you can basically write down 2 more sentences actually backing the position. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, so it starts with counter-argument, right? So some people believe that home workers become isolated, but then your position is actually not the case, right? So that's why it's connected with but. This can be avoided by holding weekly meetings for all departmental staff. So you basically have to write in this way, right? You present the counter-argument followed by your own opinion, okay? So you write 2 sentences in this way. Does that make sense? Fine, does it make sense? Okay.
Held in isolated office becomes recluses. But this can be avoided by finalizing the work and have free time to talk with the families and go outside to exercise.
Very good. Okay. Karen?
Some people loves to work from home, but to get connected with the boss and the co-workers, they can arrange outside meeting monthly to physically connect it.
Very good. Okay. Let's move on to providing evidence. Who wants to read?
Providing evidence. When supporting your opinion on academic writing, it is important to make reference to credibility sources. You can use phrases such as according to Emerson 2023 or Polena 2070 claims that to connect your ideas to research, these phrases can be used to report finding. For example, according to Emerson 2023, few companies have developed clear policies, or Polena 2017 claims that most employees appreciate flexible arrangements. Normally, your conclusion on a topic should come after you have carefully assessed all of the available evidence. You must show that you have examined the relevant sources becomes only then can you present a balanced and well-supported judgment.
Right, so I told you the reason that we are actually presenting the counter argument at the beginning is to show to the reader that we have considered all the different and opposing views, right? And basically, after presenting the counter argument, you basically have to provide evidence in order to illustrate why the counter argument doesn't work, right? And so this is the way that we actually provide evidence using, this kind of expressions. So according to Kim, bracket 2024, basically, and then afterwards you explain what the article argues. Or you can say, Joy bracket 2017 claims that blah blah blah, or argues that blah blah blah, right? Or explains blah blah blah. So this is the way that academic writing works. You basically borrow a lot of ideas and sources from other academic writing. Our other academic works. A lot of the academic works are like journal articles or like book publications. So you actually cite these credible academic sources in order to illustrate that you have a sound argument. You have a sound backup, sound supporting ideas, supporting evidence that your opinion is better than the other ones, or your ideas is good. And you basically, after you have considered all these different opinions, including counter arguments, with a lot of evidence that come from the academic sources, at the end, you basically write down your own conclusion. And in the conclusion, because you're actually writing an academic argument essay, you basically have to state very clearly your opinion on a given topic, right? So say, if you're writing about abortion, you can't say abortion is both good and bad, You basically have to say, you have to take a side. And also, maybe after you say, okay, abortion doesn't work, in such cases, you can actually make a few exceptions to your argument, but in a lot of cases, you basically have to take a side on a given topic, and you have to say clearly what your position is on a given topic. So this is very important. All right, so let's do the exercise on page 47, okay? We have a paragraph, so study the following text, which discusses the idea that young people today who have grown up with computing and the internet are different from the previous generation. So this is the argument, this is the argument of the text. So you write, you basically, after you read, there are a few questions, A, B, C, D, E, on page 48, right? And so and then you write down the answers to the questions, okay? All right. Okay, let's have a look. First, how many sources are cited to support the digital native theory?
I wrote two sources, net generation and digital natives.
Very good. Number 2.
What do the writers are changing?
Hmm.
Teaching methods.
Oh yeah, teaching method or education system. C. Why do their critics disagree with them?
Digital theory is a myth. Digital theory is a myth.
Digital
Theory
theory
is a myth.
is a myth. Why? Why do they think digital native theory is a myth?
It would be a mistake to reorganize the education system and abandon traditional means.
But this isn't, so that's why you have to be very careful. So it would be a mistake to reorganize the education system. This is an opinion. Yeah, so you have to find another evidence why they think digital native theory is a myth.
It can affect the whole generation.
We can apply the whole generation. They're okay. So they think that it's actually difficult to apply this theory to the whole generation. Why? There's a reason underneath. In the next sentence. Is it the next sentence or is it the same? Oh yeah, next sentence.
I use the reasoning for comparison holding abilities.
Right, and then
And then when you them all the academic.
right. So not all of them use digital tools, and not all of them have like full understanding of the digital tools. Only a limited understanding. So saying that like whole generation is the digital native is wrong, because there are some people, a significant number of people who actually don't use the digital tools and who have a limited understanding of the tools, digital tools. All right. Okay. D. What is the opinion of the writer of this text?
Millions still grow up and are educated.
You just said the opinion of the writer. You just said. Fine. What's your answer?
Education should be traditional manner.
But this is about digital native theory. Is the writer for or against digital native theory?
It would be a mistake to reorganize the education system and abandon traditional means of assessment and encourage authority to cater for the supposed requirements.
Yeah, so basically in one, you just said, digital native theory is a myth. That's his argument, right? And so because he's against digital native theory, he actually gave you a lot of evidence why the digital native theory doesn't work, right? Okay, so what is your opinion on this? Are you for or against digital natives theory? Two of you, both of you guys.
I'm against it.
You're against it. What about Farah? Why?
Digital native helps us to organize everything accordingly the way we want,
Mm.
and the traditional way is old generation stuff,
Mm.
and the digital way is like the new generation. We can find new resources
Mm.
through online basis,
Mm.
but in traditional way,
Mm.
those are not renewed
Yeah.
newly,
Yeah.
so we can't find the latest information.
Mm.
So that's why I'm against it.
But that doesn't make sense. Farah, like, what's your opinion?
I am with the traditional way because
Mm.
even though like the teaching method in traditional way, but we have access the new generation stuffs. So I think
traditional way is like as generation, it's passed down to generation, so that's more better as we can have like access to new generation also. So yeah, it doesn't make sense to change it now.
Yeah, so Farhan's idea is time proven. It has gone through a lot of time, and it basically means it has some value, traditional method. Okay, that's a good argument. All right, so we're actually done with the argument, and we'll actually study about generalizations. Okay, academic writing is basically you give a lot of sources, you give a lot of statistics, you give a lot of details to back up your argument or to present your position. And for that purpose, you basically have to be able to make a generalization from a lot of specific details. So let's have a look. What is generalization?
Generalization are simply and broad
Statements that are often used to introduce topics. They are commonly in introduction, research, summarize, and thesis development. However, generalization can lead to oversimplification if they are not supported with evidence. Writers should use cautious words such as often, can, many, or sometimes when making generalization.
Yeah, so generalization basically means you actually make a general statement about a given topic from a lot of specific details. And for that purpose, you actually use lots of generalization in writing the introduction, especially in summaries. Because in research summaries or like article summaries or essay summaries, you basically have to shorten, your argument or your discussion into a few sentences. And for that purpose, you have to be able to use generalized sort of expressions. And also, thesis development, you use a lot of generalization because you try to infer something more insightful or valuable out of different evidence, right? And for that purpose, you basically have to generalize a lot of details as to yield a specific point or a specific statement. So for that purpose, you have to be able to use generalization. But a lot of students, especially college students, they oversimplify. So there's a slight difference between generalization and simplification. Simplification basically means you generalize too much, right? And in order to avoid oversimplification, when you use generalization statements, you use expressions such as often, can, many, sometimes, right? So these expressions are very useful because these expressions make your statements less absolute, right? So these are like a few qualifiers that add sort of flavors to your sentences that make you not to oversimplify. Okay, so let's have an exercise done as well. Okay, go to. Yep.
What is the meaning of generalization? I don't get it.
Okay, so we're gonna do this now. Okay. Let's go to page 143. Alright. So decide which of the following generalizations are valid, are true or not. Okay? So students dislike writing essays. I'm just going to go over one example together with you in order to give you an illustration, okay? So students dislike writing essays. Is it a good generalization, valid generalization or not? Valid? There are some students who like writing essays. My husband really liked writing essays, right? So there are exceptions. So how can you make it into a valid generalization?
Most of the students dislike.
Yes. Or some students dislike writing essays, right? So this is a generalization, right? So you try to summarize various facts or various points or various statistics into a single sentence. That's what it means by generalization. But oversimplification basically occurs that you make too much generalization. So for that purpose, you need like expressions, like often, can, many, most of the times, sometimes, okay? All right, so let's do, okay, so decide which of the following generalizations are valid. So let's have a look at B, C, D, E, and you can actually decide whether this is valid or not, okay? Okay, let's just do it together. So B, earthquakes are often difficult to predict. Is it a valid generalization or not?
Valid.
Yes, this is valid because it has the qualifier, right? Often, right? And C, there appears to be a link between poverty and disease. Is it a valid generalization or not? Poverty and disease. So you have to see the expressions. What does it say? There appears to be a link. Yeah, so this is a valid. So this is a good way that you actually make a generalization. You don't make it absolute. But it can be true or it can be false, that there is no relations between poverty and disease. But then it appears to be the case, right? And D, women work harder than men. Is it a valid generalization or
I think it's depend on the situation. Some women
so that's why this is not valid, okay? And E, travel by air is faster than train travel.
Valid.
Yes, it's absolute. It's always faster, right? Alright, so let's do practice A as well, right? Generalization on the following topic. So with fresh fruit and health, you can make a generalization like this. Eating fresh fruit is important for health, right? So let's do A, B, C, D, E. Honest judges, respect for the law. So you use two expressions to make a generalization, okay? Okay, let's have a look. Practice A. B, adequate sleep and academic success.
Most honest judges always have respect for the law.
Huh? You have to include adequate sleep and academic success.
A and B together.
Oh, no, B. Oh, we didn't do, sorry, honest judges and respect for the law. Yeah, you can do A.
Number B.
Mm.
Getting well-educated sleep is important to get academic success.
Yes? C?
Typical industrial growth leads to pollution success. Typical industrial growth essentially makes pollution.
But I think it's better to say industrial growth tends to cause pollution. So you actually lessen the intensity, right? If you were to just say these two, then this is too absolute. Okay, so tends to do something. Okay? D.
Generally, job satisfaction encourages people to make their profession interesting.
Job, so say it again, I can't hear you.
Generally, job satisfaction.
Very good. So you included the qualifier word, right? Generally. Very good. E.
In most cases, creativity and skill are mainly to help make a great art.
Very good. Well done, guys. Okay, let's do another exercise. So go to 144, building on generalization. Read the following text and note the generalization italics. So they actually signify the generalization in italics in this text. And you read the text and then answer the questions that follow, ABC. Okay, let's do this. Okay, before we do this, I think it's better to go over this point first so that you can actually have an understanding to solve the question. Okay, so key takeaways. Joy?
Critical approaches requires effective grading, questioning and assessing of evidence,
Internet sources require extra cautions to avoid bias and inaccuracy. Discussion and argument access needs balance, clear organization, and critical engagement. Generalization should clarify issues, not oversimplify them. Good academic writing moves from broad statement to specific evidence.
Right, so last class, 3 weeks ago, we actually went over how to actually assess the credibility of the online sources, right? So especially with the online sources, internet sources, it's very important that we check the credibility and reliability of the sources in order to quote them in our essay. And we just did, how we can actually make a generalization with the qualifier words, and how to make a nice expression. And this is the last point that I want to emphasize. So good academic writing moves from broad statement, which is basically generalization, to specific evidence. So let's have a look at the practice beat. This actually gives a very, very good illustration of this point. So it says most essays move from the general to the specific, as a generalization has to be supported and developed. For example, an essay with the title "Can increased fees in higher education be justified?" So this is the question, and the essay might develop in the following way. So let's have a look. What does the generalization say? Joy?
In the past 20 years, many countries have introduced substantial fees for students in higher education. Support it as a result, many students have taken out a loan to complete their degree courses. Development in England, for example, the average student debt is now about £400,000 at the end of a 3-year undergraduate course.
Right, so we have this very generalized, broad statement at the beginning, right? So, and it covers the past 20 years, right? And many different countries. And afterwards, we have more specific detail or more specific statement that supports the previous generalization, right? And as a result, many students, and now we're actually down to the cases of many students, right? And also you have to give some more specific examples to develop the generalized statement that you actually proposed at the beginning. So now we have more specific statements, which is the case of England, and it basically says the average student debt is now £40,000 at the end of the 3-year undergraduate course. So this is a very specific illustration, right? So this is how you progress your argument essay, right? You start with a generalized statement, and you make a support with more specific sort of illustration or statement, and then you give specific detail. A lot of cases, the detail or the evidence is the quote from the other sources, other academic sources, according to Joy 2003 or Farah 2003 argues blah blah blah. This is the way that you quote, or you actually give the statistics, or you give the number, right? And to give an example of the supporting details that you present for making the generalization. This is how you progress. Does that make sense? So yeah, let's do the previous exercise based on this. So let's solve this ABC, So remember, it starts from generalization to more specific details.